buses that would take people back to 79th.
And a rallying call to stop the violence in Chicago. Protesters will take a stand by shutting down the Dan Ryan.
Start planning now. The Dan Ryan Expressway could be a mess tomorrow morning. Protesters plan to shut it down. It's a march being led by St. Sabina's father, Michael Flager, who says the city needs to do more to curb violence. Protesters will walk on the expressway and shut down the Dan Ryan from 79th Street to 67th Street on the south side. CBS 2's Audrina Bigas has more on the preps and the plan for safety.
At 10 a.m., protesters will meet right here on 79th and the Dan Ryan. Organizers say they want police to block off all of these northbound lanes here, but if police do not do that, protesters say they'll use their own cars to block traffic.
This is a beginning of a continued effort to disturb the city of Chicago until they answer. Whether we're shutting down Birmingham or Selma or Montgomery, you keep getting in the face of society and inconvenience people until enough people say, do something.
The Inconvenience, an anti-violence march tomorrow on the busy Dan Ryan Expressway.
I appeal to the good citizens.
State police pleading with Father Michael Flager not to do it. Meanwhile, the mayor supports it.
Let me say this, they should be allowed, yes, because they're going to be talking about anti-violence.
I'm a mother that lost 2 sons killed in this state to guns.
And what's your phone number?
People are signing up.
Yes, I want to be there. With all my heart, I want to be there.
And preps are underway tonight at St. Sabina Church. These youth are leading the charge. Some have lost their loved ones to gun violence.
Similar to my brother, he was just at church for band rehearsal. My cousin, he was just sitting in a car. And other people have been shot in their homes, outside. And the fear is just, you can lose your life at any moment just living in Chicago.
They will march with demands. This letter sent to Governor Bruce Rauner and Mayor Rahm Emanuel calls for action.
You'll come together and create an office for economic development whose sole purpose is to bring in new companies, new businesses into the South and West Side. If you want to get this tax break, hire from these 10 unemployed areas.
Just announced tonight, Cook County public defenders will be on call tomorrow during the march to represent anyone who may be arrested during the demonstration. Also, there's lots of talk on social media tonight about why protesters did not march in neighborhoods where the violence is happening. Organizers say they wanted to hit a bigger expressway in a different area to affect people all over the city. Along with Dan Ryan tonight, Audrina Bigas, CBS 2 News.
Audrina, thank you. Father Flager has received support from the Chicago Archdiocese. Cardinal Blaise Cupich released a statement tonight saying, quote, history has proven many times that nonviolent action and peaceful protest have the power to create change. I applaud the courage shown by young people in our city and across the country demanding their right to life and human dignity given by God and guaranteed by our nation's founder.
I got a big mouth, can't help it. I talk from my heart, I'm real, you know what I'm saying? Whatever comes, comes. But my controversy problem, and it's not my fault. I'm trying to find my way in the world, you know, I'm trying to be somebody instead of just make money off everybody.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? This your man, Marcus A. Brown, once again. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to everybody on the playback. Thank y'all for tuning in. What's good, Sasua? What's good, Almonte? What y'all just watched is a news clip from last night. It's basically giving commuters in the city of Chicago a news update on a protest that's scheduled to take place today on the south side of Chicago. Now, just to put this in the proper context for y'all, after watching the news clip, like what they're expecting to take place today is not a protest over the expressway. You know, sometimes people hold signs over the freeway and they ask you to like honk your horns and support their cause and stuff like that. No, what these protesters are intended to do is to actually block the traffic on the interstate highway, I-94, also known as the Dan Ryan Expressway, you know, on the south side of Chicago. So they planning to walk onto a major highway on the south side of Chicago to demonstrate a protest against gun violence in Chicago, and they want to demand that somebody do something about the guns in the streets. Who is the somebody they talking about? Anybody, really. You know, according to the Chicago Tribune, I posted the link in the description. According to the Chicago Tribune, the protest is against the mayor, Rahm Emanuel. According to CBS News, it's a protest against Governor Bruce Rauner. But either way, they basically want to hold up traffic on the Dan Ryan, which is a major artery of not only the city of Chicago, but it's a major east-west highway on in the northern part of the United States. I don't know exactly how long they plan on protesting. I don't know. So say, how could we stop this? Jim Hyde say, where is or was non-DOS President Obama? Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. But yeah, see, they just really looking to vent their frustrations. I get that, but I don't really agree with the way they're going about doing it. As many of y'all know, I'm from Chicago, born and raised. This is home to me. It always will be home to me, even if I do get out the gym, because I'm looking into other places to relocate myself. I've been meaning to make a video or maybe even a live hangout discussing the violence in Chicago from a local's perspective. And I have on this channel before, but I never really talk about any specific crimes in particular because I know how people are out here. I know how the people are. I know how the politics works out here in the streets and the local government. And to an extent, I know how the music scene work out here because the drill music culture has played a part in the gun violence lately. Earlier this summer, we lost a great Chicago icon, Zach TV. Rest in peace to Zach TV. We lost T Streets, which I don't know neither one of them personally, but I've met them before. I mean, we all know people that know people. So this really hits close to home for me and many others, especially like in the Chicago music scene. To answer your question, Sasua, I'm gonna say black on black crime. You know, they never say that in the news. The black community doesn't say that, but when we talk about gun violence and you look at the demographics, you look at where it's actually taking place, it's in the black community. So that's why I say black on black crime. But you know, the news wouldn't say that. They not gonna call it out for what it is. But yeah, we've been losing a lot of people, man. Even according to the Chicago Tribune, 7 people were shot on the 4th of July and countless other shootings. As the weather breaks, as the holidays come up. There's even a website dedicated to breaking down the statistics on gun violence in Chicago called HeyJackass.com. According to that site, as of today, 200 some. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Like, I don't think it's a troll site, but the way they got the site set up is it break everything down to the T. And I knew they wasn't trolling when they broke down like the neighborhoods, like which neighborhoods it's hot and which one's not. It's called HeyJackass.com. Give me 1 second, y'all. My bad. I did send an invite to other people that may want to join this discussion. Actually, I shouted out to the people I know in Chicago. A lot of the YouTubers that's in Chicago, I would prefer if they jumped on, but that's up to them. And I'm gonna tell you about that, my thoughts on that in a minute. I'm gonna share the screen one more time. So I'm on this website, HeyJackass.com. Y'all should be able to see it. So according to this site, from the year to date, 223 people have been murdered and 1,208 people wounded from gun violence in Chicago. It's real out here, man. Like our people are hurt physically, mentally, spiritually. Everybody looking for their own idea of justice, but more importantly, I'm gonna say everybody looking for attention. From the victims' families, which I can absolutely understand that. My heart goes out to the victims and their families. But the religious leaders, the community activists, the politicians, you name it, like they all clout chasing, even the rappers. They all clout chasing. They all looking to get a name off of the dead bodies of people out here getting shot every day. My thoughts on this protest, again, I'm not tripping over people exercising their right to freedom of speech, and I'm not tripping over a peaceful protest. I protect their rights to do that as Americans. My issue personally, and I do mean personally as a truck driver, I had to drive on these expressways. My issue is the manner in which they're going about doing these protests, and the demands that they think will bring forth a solution. People in Chicago, they haven't gotten the point, especially black people, they haven't gotten the point that this anti-Second Amendment rhetoric, it only further oppresses us, especially in the black community. It leaves us defenseless, especially in the hood. And people in Chicago don't want to acknowledge that this really isn't a government issue. You can't protest and complain about the mayor or the governor. It's not a government issue. They not finna fix none of this shit. This is a cultural issue. This is black on black crime. And that it accounts for the majority of the murders that takes our loved ones away. Police brutality is relevant out here also. If it's not police brutality, it's some type of gang beef. Let's be honest. Now, if it was an outrage against the police brutality, I would understand that, but I still wouldn't support being on a highway holding up national traffic just to, I don't know, like make some demands that may or may not be fulfilled. I know these kids, like I want to talk about the kids really. Like if y'all, for those of y'all that tuned in and saw the news clip I played, it's really kids that's being used in these type of protests, young people. And I know these kids that, you know, while I empathize with them, it saddens me that they allow these preachers and these special interest groups to use their pain and they outrage as a platform to push their own political agendas. When I saw Father Flagger on the news, Father Flagger, that's the Catholic priest on the south side of Chicago. He got like one of the most lit churches on the south side. And I give him credit that he be in the hood. That's who they made the Chirac movie after. You know, basically Spike Lee had included him in there because he is a so-called staple in the black community on the south side. But at the end of the day, he's pushing an anti-Second Amendment political agenda. This is a anti-Second Amendment protest. Let's get that much understood. All right, it's modeled after the protests around the country. Like y'all been seeing this everywhere else with the kids in the news and kids in the streets. That's all used to appeal to emotions because they're not really talking about. They're not talking about anything. They want to take away guns. First, they'll say something small like, "Oh, well, we just need stricter gun laws." Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws, and we account for some of them. The I don't know the exact statistics, but I mean, shit. Look, we got sites like HeyJackass.com documenting murders, and they all gun-related charges, and they're not by legally armed gun owners. I have a carry concealed permit. I'm a legal gun owner, so from my perspective, when I look at these anti-gun propaganda protests, I'm looking at people trying to take my personal freedoms away. And when I get to talk to young kids, especially either with Hip Hop Detox or other organizations, I'm always the so-called conservative that's arguing the opposite side of the spectrum. All people see when they not thinking logically, they only acting off emotions. All they can understand, the only dots they could connect is guns. Let's ban guns, problem solved. It don't work like that. Look at all the other countries, all the other nations that have either restricted gun, they got strict gun control, or they ban it, and it doesn't stop violence. It may decrease gun violence to an extent, but it don't decrease the violence because violence is a cultural issue. It's not a government issue. You can't regulate these type of this type of epidemic. You can't regulate it out of existence. Like I said, I sympathize with the kids. I know a lot of them are really hurt. They like the politicians in them. This is just a routine rack up for them. You know, they show up, all of the Jesse Jacksons in them. They show up, they get their donations, and they get out the jam. Oh, and they get on the news. Got to get that good press, and they get out the jam. Excuse me. It's the kids that's really suffering, and the kids is really not understanding what ways they're being manipulated and which ways they're being used for a political agenda that they may not even understand or agree with. I think the parents should know better. If they raise their kids to value their freedoms here in America, the kids would know better. And society as a whole, like I said, they should know better than to push these anti-gun laws. They should know better from historical events where governments step in and disarm their people. The same story happens over and over. Gun control does not stop violence. Jim Hyde, I can't even see that, bro. Oh, okay. Gang interdiction in Chicago. What you saying? Intervention or interdiction? I need a dictionary. I don't know what that means. Interdiction in Chicago has been woefully deficient. Oh, willful negligence. Basically, like, this is why I don't really talk about the violence in Chicago. Like, they got a bunch of YouTubers on here. I was a fan of DJ Academics. I still am. When he came out with I think it was the War in Chirac, he had a whole channel dedicated to gun violence in Chicago. But it was more centered around the music and the drill culture. I didn't have a problem with him doing that. A lot of Chicago rappers did, though. You know, they felt like he's in no position to speak on what's going on because he's not from Chicago. And I would always laugh at the rappers for getting mad about it, because it's like, you know, how can you live this lifestyle, or how could you promote this lifestyle and be in your feelings when people start commenting on it? I mean, we do the same thing in sports. We not playing the sports. Like, how would it sound if you use that same argument? Oh, you're not going to the Lakers, so you can't criticize LeBron, or you're not living this particular lifestyle, so you can't comment on it. That's not an argument. But in their defense, with the recent murders that's been happening out here, I have seen new YouTube channels pop up. I have looked at YouTube channels that have spoke on stories involving people that I know personally, or people that I know of, and it makes you feel some type of way. You know, like, imagine y'all know me, right? People who really know me in real life. Imagine something happened to me, and you got random people on the internet coming up with conspiracy theories over what happened, and they not even from Chicago. They don't even know who I am. They never heard of me before. They just picking up a news story, and they doing the same thing that anybody do on YouTube, which is make a story about it, trying to get donations, trying to get Google AdSense. It's a hustle for everybody else, but for us, we really out here living this. From that perspective, like I said, I know that's the same position the rappers had, and I had a problem with it. But once it started hitting close to home, I can partially understand it. I can understand it from the position of somebody who is not promoting violence. But if you promoting violence and you mad because people is commenting on it, then I think that's hypocrisy. Let me if y'all still looking at this site, I'm not gonna go through the whole site, but it was something else I wanted to show y'all. Oh, hold on. And I don't know. I guess that's the protest is supposed to start around 9 or 9:30. I may slide up there just to see how it turns out. Again, I don't support it, but I do want to see how this turns. And let me say this too. Let me say this before I go through this site. The reason I want to go, I want to see this for myself, because you got, and I hate to make it a race thing, but I'm gonna keep it 100. You got this white pastor that's protesting. He's using kids. He's using black kids, black mothers, families that have lost they shorties, and he's using them as cannon fodder, and he's using them as a platform to push his own anti-Second Amendment political agendas. That's my personal opinion on it. But with all these SJWs out here, and especially in the age of all these random protests with people standing in the middle of the street, because we've had that during the election year, motherfuckers should have learned their lessons about standing in the street. It ain't happened in Chicago, but it's happened. Look up, go to YouTube. When you finish watching this, look up protesters hit by cars. And everywhere, like, all these protests end up with somebody getting hurt. The protests in Chicago, the only people that get hurt is people that either try to argue with the protesters, or sometimes it's not a physical damage. It's more of a shit, motherfucker got late for work. Or like I said, as a truck driver, what if I had to drive a truck? What if I was driving and that was the only, what if I was carrying hazardous materials and I had a designated route and that was the only way I could take is the fucking street that they blocking? Who knows what that's holding up? That could be holding up some important business that has to get done. It could be government or relate or shit, scientific. It could be an ambulance on that expressway trying to save a dying life. It could be anything. It could be somebody going to the hospital trying to give birth to their newborn child, and y'all sitting up here in the middle of the street complaining over real injustices and real problems, but you doing it in a fucked up way that ain't gonna make nobody take your side. But what I really want to say is, I want to see how this turn out, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be Father Flagger with a whole bunch of black families out there, and all these Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the white protesters, the white motherfuckers that be in front of Trump Tower. They get the comfortable buses taking them down there. They be at Millennium Park. They be all up and down the Gold Coast. Okay, they be all around City Hall. They stay downtown where it's safe. They don't be in the trap. They don't be in the hood. They wear these Black Lives Matter shirts, and they try to recruit illegal immigrants or people that advocate for illegal immigrants. They try to recruit black people by appealing to emotion, talking about gun violence and police brutality. They don't give a fuck about the hood. They not going to be out there. And I want to go just to show that. I guarantee you, when it comes to standing in the middle of the expressway, it's going to be a bunch of black families and Father Flagger. I don't like that shit. And see, it's a very sensitive topic because it's mixed. You got people pushing a political agenda. I don't give a fuck about them. But then you got people that are genuine victims of gun violence and murder on the south side of Chicago, again, predominantly in black communities. I can't troll them in the same way that I would troll these pastors or these community activists. I talk shit about them all day. I question them with the youth and with the mothers. I don't feel I'm not trying to troll them, but I wish I could get through to them and make them think from a different perspective. Think a little deeper than what makes you feel good. Think a little deeper than how these politicians and these community activists and these pastors and preachers pimp y'all for y'all time, y'all energy, y'all risking y'all freedom. Because this is that's another thing I want to say. The mayor of Chicago said that he supports this. He can't give permission for them to do that. They don't have a permit to do this, but he says he supports what they're doing because it's anti-violence. He can't make that call. That's a state. The interstate highway is governed by the state. The state police already told them, get off that. Don't do that. But they gonna do it anyway. And again, these are black people that's gonna walk their ass on the expressway and potentially get hurt or arrested. And they say they got public defenders out there, but y'all know how efficient public defenders are. Come on, fam. In Cook County, I wish I could get through to some of the youth, but I got to be real careful with how I do that because, like I said, this is going to be a highly sensitive issue. It's going to be a lot of emotional people out there, and they ain't trying to hear it. When people are hurt, they looking for some form of justice, whether it's street justice or asking somebody else to solve their problems. So it's real hard to get through to them. I would just ask the youth, how do they feel about their own freedom? You know what I'm saying? How would they feel? Do they feel that they should have the right to protect themselves out here in these streets or in their homes? Do they believe that they should also be entitled to their Second Amendment rights? And if they say yes, then I would say, why would you promote something that's going against your own freedom? We all know how these regulations work in Chicago. And then they got kids. See, the kids don't know. They don't know what the fuck they talking about, G. They kids, and that's part of the reason why it works so well. This is cultural subversion. It's part of the reason why it works so well because first off, who wants to tell a kid that they're wrong? Okay. Second off, even if you could tell them they're wrong, it makes you look like an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Even to make them think, because see, they go out there and they act off emotion. That's easy. If you go out there and you challenge them to think, now, you know, in this day and age, that's considered attacking somebody. If you challenging their beliefs. Jay Biz will say, "Where's Jesse Jackson? He's the main one that's making money off black people." I just saw him at one of them news conferences on the news. I ain't seen him in person, but he was there. He was at one of when Father Flagger went live on Facebook, Jesse Jackson was there. He kind of fell back because I know that Jesse Jackson has some health issues that he fighting. But the point is, he gonna make sure his face is seen. He gonna pop out real quick, talk his anti-Trump rhetoric, even though he gave an award to Trump, what, in the 70s or 80s, for on behalf of the black community. A lot of contradiction, fam. A lot of contradiction. Again, my issue with the kids is that they don't have an opposing view to listen to. There's no such thing as listening to two sides of an argument because they've been conditioned to only listen to one, to only know that one exists. So they think they're doing something good. Let me go through this site real quick. This is the month of June. 48 shot and killed, 289 wounded. What I want to show y'all, though, is this map. Now, anybody watching this from Chicago, I don't know if I could blow this map up or not. Yeah, enlarge. Anybody watching this from Chicago, the black spots supposedly is supposed to be where the highest shooting. Oh, police involved, my bad. All right, this is the key right here. All right, the yellow is homicide. The blue is double homicide. Red is triple homicide. Black is police brutality, police involved. That's Northwest. So that means, you know, if you go up in the hood where there's money at, your ass might get shot. Now, there is police brutality in these areas all across the city, but for whatever reason, they don't have that documented, which I would question that. These hot spots, I'm from South Shore. I'm from 73rd and Jeffrey. Definitely hot over here, South Chicago, Chatham, Grand Crossing. They got Chatham is not as bad. Inglewood, actually, Inglewood, that's where, well, it's a mix between Inglewood, like up in this area around 63rd King Drive. That's what they call O Block. I call it Parkway Gardens. That's what it really is. It's real hot over here. Inglewood, Auburn, Gresham, Roseland, that's the Hunnits, and the West Side. These are predominantly black communities. West Side and the South Side. Hyde Park, that's where Obama is from, supposedly. That's where they want to put his whatever they finna build for him. That's a $1 billion project, and they not really giving any funding to helping the veterans of Illinois, which is a state issue. But yeah, Hyde Park, University of Chicago, very prestigious over here. It's still a South Side, but it's real prestigious. As you get into like further southwest, not Roseland, not West Pullman, but Beverly, the Beverly area, Morgan Park, over in the 90s, like that's where it gets better at. You know, it's money over there. It's police, firemen, community. Like I got family over in that area too. But again, this is apparent. See these big red and burgundy spots? That's South Side and West Side. South Side, West Side. Only reason I say East Side is because we right by the lake. South Shore, some people say that's the South Side because they argue that there is no East Side. But I call it the East Side because we got the beach, bro. We right by the lake. Look at the octopus in the water and all that. But I digress. Well, I'm reading through the chat. We got what y'all said? We got Taylor Made Dreams in the building. I don't see him, but shout out to Taylor Made Dreams. I'm gonna try to do a hangout with him on another video. Man, sir asks, where's Black Lives Matter? Again, that's why I want to show y'all this. Black Lives Matter will be nowhere to be found. I guarantee. The political arm of Black Lives Matter, the hipsters and the white liberals that stay safe. Only time you see like people that actually claim Black Lives Matter, the organization, they on college campuses because it's safe. It's a safe space where they can interrupt everybody else's freedom of speech, and they can act like they care about black people when it's really. And we've already talked about Black Lives Matter as a black gay agenda platform. Go to their website. Look at their core values. It's on their own website. They ain't saying nothing about police brutality. That might be on the first page. Once you start going through their values, they start talking about transgender affirming. And I ain't got a problem with the whole LGBT community. But I can recognize that for what it is. It's a Black Day agenda. The whole community village stuff, basically wanting everybody to simp and raise other people's kids, cuckolding and supporting and glorifying baby mamas, single motherhood culture. That's what Black Lives Matter is really about. But you're not gonna see the non-Black leftists in the hood. Now, I will give Father Flagg and them credit that they on 79th. The protest is supposed to take place at the expressway on 79th. They on the south side, but they on the expressway, bro. The expressway ain't got nothing to do with what's going on these streets and in the sets on the blocks. All right, and I'm not getting on here to say I'm a guru or professional or I know what's going on in the streets. I don't keep my ear to the streets like that. But I know enough people that's out here getting in jams, getting hurt to know where stuff is. I know where not to go. I know when to chill somewhere, when not to chill somewhere. It's like looking at clouds knowing it's finna rain. You know when to get out the jam, but some people are there for that reason. We got cameras everywhere, bro. We got cameras all over the city of Chicago. They never see shit. They never record. They never catch none of these crimes, but they'll catch your ass running a red light. They know exactly who running the red lights, but they don't know who's shooting each other, and robbing and committed crimes. We got everybody outside because it's nice outside. Soon as some shit go down, don't nobody know shit. Ain't nobody seeing shit. Come on, fam. Like, this needs to be said. You're not gonna hear that at no protest. I wouldn't even be safe making these arguments at a protest. I gotta pull people to the side one by one and basically win them over by letting them know that I empathize with they sentiments. Again, I'm not out here. I'm not getting on here to troll the people who are victims of violence in Chicago, but this political agenda behind it, or in front of it, I should say, the people that's pulling the strings, that's who I got a problem with. And if I do have a problem with the victims, it would be that they are allowing this to happen. My bad, y'all. MGTOW Saver says, this is setup, man. That's why they call it the projects and experiment on poor people. To an extent, yeah, I agree with that, bro. The projects, let me tell you about the projects in Chicago. They knocked that down, I want to say in the early 2000s. But the housing projects on the low end, all of them was knocked down, and they started giving Section 8 vouchers to a lot of these single mother households. And a lot of the low income, that's the politically correct term, low income housing. So what they did was they knocked the projects down where all of the violence was more so concentrated, because people used to be, all the gangs used to war with each other, but it was cut off from Chicago is segregated. But race baiters like to say it's segregated by race, and I like to say it's segregated by class. Why do I say that? Because I'm from an area where the neighborhood is nice. Look at the location. The location is nice. Come on, fam. Like, how much would it cost to live anywhere else in any other part of the United States next to some water? If you live close to the lake, close to the ocean, that's prime real estate. And it is to an extent in Chicago, but I grew up not too far from the beach. It was a nice area, but it had a criminal element that started to grow over time. But going back to the projects, all that beefing and warring was between projects. Once they knocked the projects down and they start spreading the people from the projects throughout the city and the suburbs, it changed the demographics of Chicago. What I meant by segregated by class, if you got money, if you get your money up, you can live in areas of Chicago that's not subject to mixed income housing. Where I live, I pay rent. The rent that I pay, bro, I might as well be paying a mortgage. If I moved anywhere else, it would easily be a mortgage. And I wouldn't have to deal with the taxes. For the homeowners out here, they got crazy property taxes. But basically, if you got money, you can live decent out here. It's like any other major city. It's segregated by class, not necessarily race. Where I stay at, it's a bunch of Indians and Asians. If it was segregated by race, they would find a way to get me the fuck up out of here, but they not. If you got money, you can live somewhere. If you got money, you got good credit, you don't have a rough background, a sketchy background, you can live in nice neighborhoods in Chicago. Or if you're in college, because the college campuses, they make sure they keep those safe. That's why everybody's a fucking crybaby on college campuses, because they sheltered from everything. They go downtown and protest. They're not going to go on 79th and protest. But the projects, they knock that down and they spread everybody up. Now the South suburbs is where not the people who grew up in the projects, but the second generation from them. So imagine this. People got sent to the project. I'm sorry. They knocked the projects down, sent them to the South side, sent them to the South suburbs. Those people raised their children in the South suburbs, and it changed the environment of the South burbs. So places like Harvey used to be nice. Places like Calumet City used to be nice. Places like Dalton used to be nice. And for the most part, it's still somewhat kept together. But come on, man. There never used to be murders out there. It never used to be hustlers and, you know what I'm saying? The feeling, like the energy that you get when you're in them areas, like where you feel like you got to watch your back, you used to didn't feel like that out there. No Filter says, I also feel that the black community at times cannot be saved, even though I wish it gets better. I feel like that too. I mean, you can't save everybody. That's my position on everything. I care more about individuals than collective groups. I lost all faith in collective groups. So like even when we talk, even in the red pill community, when everybody talk about saving all the guys, waking people up, and not everybody wants to be pulled out of the matrix. In the black community, not everybody wants the gang shit to stop. Not everybody wants to hold the Bonquishas and the Pookies and Ray Rays accountable. Not everybody wants people like Marcus Brown in their neighborhood. Because I would cause a disturbance just by calling motherfuckers on their shit. Come on, bro. If I still stayed over east and I was walking around with a MAGA hat, I would have been dealt with. Because we in a fashion, I'm behind enemy lines, not only in Chicago, but in the state of Illinois. Ain't no political arguments, man. If motherfuckers see something and it bothers them, they want to shoot. Apology Man says the black community won't be saved in our time. No Filter. I agree, Marcus. Some people cannot and will not be saved. That's my man said as well. Now, like I said, I still volunteer where I'm welcome. I go where I'm welcome. That's my principle in life. That's the same for the manosphere. That's the same for all these political parties. I don't consider myself a Republican. I don't consider myself a leftist or a liberal. I want to listen to politicians and I stand by them on the issues that I feel represents me best. Same thing with women. Whatever, name it, whatever it is. Same thing with the workplace. I go where I'm welcome. I go where I'm respected. So naturally, that's how I would look at a community. So I do volunteer in the community. I do volunteer with the male empowerment programs, but only to the extent in which they support me. The minute they get on some fuck shit with me, I just drop the ball. I'm gone. I'm gone. But on a brighter note, it is rewarding when you could win one person over. When you can win one young person, or you could get somebody to actually challenge their own way of thinking, and they challenge you too. So it's good for both parties. But I didn't heard so many of these anti-gun arguments. I already know how it go, and I know how to respond to them. The problem is dealing with sensitive people, hypersensitive people, inflammatory people in a state in which you cannot communicate with them. Jim Hyden says poverty is violence. Only in America, man. I mean, well, only in these first world countries where people grow up with a socialist mindset. That's what I believe. I mean, violence happens somewhere everywhere, and I would agree that poverty increases the likeliness of violence. But that was part of the thing that I envied about the Chalamicos. Like when I was in the fucking slums of the DR, they ain't having they living standards in that one particular spot I was in. They living standards wasn't nowhere near the projects in Chicago. The projects in Chicago, or even the rough areas in Chicago, that shit would look like a 5-star hotel to a person in the slums in the DI. But the mentality was different. Out there, everybody broke, but and I'm not saying everybody. I always gotta emphasize this. I'm talking about in the area I was in, not the entire DI. But the area I was in, it might have been poverty stricken, but everybody got along. Everybody looked out for each other. You don't see no people out there starving. It was the opposite. You see fruit growing on trees. You're not gonna find that in Chicago. You see chickens crossing the road and shit. Ain't nobody starving out there. But it's only in Chicago. That's what made me feel bad when I got back home, because I could see myself. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but I could see myself living in a poor neighborhood in a third world country and having less problems. I'm not saying not have any problems, but having less problems than I would in a poor neighborhood in the south side of Chicago. My life would be more in danger around broke niggas in Chicago than it would be around poverty-stricken people in a third world country. What does that say about countries like the U.S.? And this is not an anti-American sentiment. Like I said, I love the country. I hate the culture. I don't like the way people have become. We've all been raised on worshiping celebrities and worshiping people with money. And the more we glorify materialistic things, superficial things, the more we feel little in regards to ourselves, our self-esteem, our place in the world, our social status. So everybody out here, and I'm talking about regardless of income, everybody in the U.S. is operating off of social status. We all feel like we gotta have this or that accepted by society to get a goddamn date, to be accepted in a club, to be respected among our peers, around our constituents and our coworkers. We got to keep up with the Joneses. That's the majority of people. The smart people, they let go of all that. They practice stoicism. They practice minimalism. They practice going their own way, in a sense that I'm in the world, but not of the world. I can live in a certain area and I don't have to keep up with y'all standards. I don't have to base my self-worth on the same thing y'all base y'all self-worth on. No Filter says, money do not bring happiness. I live a minimalist lifestyle as much as I can. I consider myself more of a hybrid. Like, I want to live a minimalist lifestyle, but I still want to get maximum income. I'm still trying to find out ways to get money. And this is the thing. Let me tell you that I wouldn't say that money don't bring happiness. Money can make you very happy, but money only amplifies what's already there. You know what I'm saying? If you're a miserable person with no money, you're gonna be a miserable person with money, because you solve some problems and then you find new problems. Aaron Clary say this all the time. Humans are insatiable. They never satisfied. You can't be satisfied for long, because it's always gonna be a new problem. Everybody has problems. They just have different problems. Now, some problems may be more critical than others, but everybody got problems. Everybody got something that they not happy with. But conversely, if you're a happy person broke, you could be a happy person with money. If you're a positive person without money, you could be a positive person with money. The reason I consider myself a hybrid, and that's another thing. How I want to say this. Once I did start upgrading my lifestyle, and mind you, I'm not living lavish and nothing like that, but I upgraded my apparel, like the clothes I wear, the car I drive, the apartment, and all that type of stuff. I upgrade these things for me, and that's nice. But when I see the way other people respond to me, I get mixed feelings about that shit. Part of it is nice because, yeah, it's nice to get compliments. It's nice for motherfuckers to show you attention that they didn't show you once upon a time. But it also comes with a degree of resentment, because it's like, bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why the fuck is y'all paying so much attention to me now? that's the way I feel about it, man. Everybody might not feel that way. So I value both. I value being in a position to upgrade your life, your standards of living, I should say. But then I also value being under the radar. I value having personal privacy. I value shit. I value being a regular motherfucker. Look at the celebrities. They can't go back to that. They can't go back to just walking to the corner store or, you know, standing on a bus stop or something like that. They can't go back to just striking up conversations with people of all walks of life. They got to be around a certain circle. They got to be in a certain bubble because they can't go on 79th Street. They can't go over east of Essex, east of Exchange on the other side of the railroad track. They can't walk up in Parkway, even though I wouldn't walk up in Parkway. I know I can. Ain't nobody going to just be like, you're Marcus Brown, fuck, fuck, fuck. Not unless they got a personal problem with me and some shit like that. But that's the trade-offs. Everything's a trade-off. You could be a nobody and nobody cares. You could be a somebody and everybody cares, even about shit that they shouldn't care about. Your life becomes a spectacle. I don't really know what else to say at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and post the link in the chat if y'all want to hop on real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. Come on, y'all. 41 watching, 16 likes. Can we get the likes up, please? Look out for me, bro. I'm trying. Hey, and let me say this too. I appreciate the new subscribers. We over 5,000 subscribers. Got like 900 additional subscribers after the whole DR thing. I know y'all like the travel vlogs. I'm gonna keep those coming, but I got to get my bread right. Give me 1 second. I'm posting the link in the chat. Shout out Marcus Allen. Y'all know that's my middle name too, Allen. So we got two, and then the football player and whatnot. That's a good name, brother. Hey, forgive my ignorance, Jim. What is DOS? I don't know what that stands for. He says DOS are victims, and the orchestrated screwing is getting worse. I posted the link in the chat. Prince Revolver says being a celebrity would be miserable if you had guilt. Victim SJW mentality. You can never enjoy life. Well, I couldn't even enjoy life as a celebrity at this point, especially in America, because of the leftist ideology that's expected of all celebrities to have. Like, you basically got to be a left, especially in, come on, fam, in rap. Like, before I got into truck driving, before I got into YouTube and all that, I was a rapper. I did it in Chicago. I would go back and forth to Atlanta. Everybody said, if you want to get into rap or acting, go to the West Coast. But looking back now, what would I be subject to? What would I be subject to had I went on the West Coast? I would have been fucking miserable, bro. Like, everybody out there is brainwashed to think one way. It's a have mentality, or you get blackmailed, you get blackballed. Let me know if that Jim Hyde to say you render a whole section of the population permanently under and unemployed. In this new Walmart Uber economy with massive wealth inequality, you are breeding revolt. I agree with that 100%. But to add on to that, and it's gonna make me sound like an asshole, But what would I do in a situation where I'm under or unemployed? I will pull back. I will pull back. Meaning I would not create huge amounts of debt for myself trying to impress other people. I would not have kids that I can't afford. I'm not promoting eugenics. I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm saying don't have kids you can't afford. Or don't have kids with a deadbeat partner that you know is not enough for the long run. But people are doing it. People are making bad personal decisions. The economy is not helping at all. Marcus say, will it ever be a red pill celebrity? It's already red pill celebrities. They just under the radar. Like, they can't really come out and speak on that. Leonardo DiCaprio was an example we was talking about in another chat. I believe Trey Songz. Like, if you look at Trey Songz, I always said I just deemed him an honorary red pill person. Because he's a ladies' man. He's a singer, so of course he got to cater to the ladies. And he enjoyed that shit. And he's single. He's never gonna come out and say, I'm not looking for a relationship. He always leaves it up to chance. He always lead these hoes with hope. And that's not a bad thing, especially for his profession. That's fucking smart. That's smart, bro. He not gonna get married. His alias is Mr. Steal Your Girl. Because if you single, can't nobody fuck your bitch. You ain't got no bitch. Everybody else bitch is your bitch. You know what I'm saying? All these other simps that's getting in relationships, they the ones that's gonna end up worrying about Trey Songz taking their girl. Because you know everybody in Hollywood end up messing around with each other at some point. So I think he's a red pill guy, but I respect that he wouldn't never say it. If he was, he wouldn't say it. That would be career suicide. Why would he ruin a good thing? But if I was a red pill celebrity, I would be a Trey Songz. But since I'm Marcus Brown, that's too late. So I might as well just troll and be like, hell yeah, MGTOW this bitch. Black man. So I would do some of the shit that would get me banned from Hollywood. I don't need to be a long-term celebrity. A lot of these people try to hold on to their careers because they trying to live that lifestyle. Man, let me get a quick meal. I'm through. I'm not going to spend it on a whole bunch of shit where I have to run in that hamster wheel. I'm going to dip some of that bread off. I'm going to trick some of that bread off. And I'm going to start saying shit that's going to get me blackballed from Hollywood. They're going to have to off me or something. They're going to have to Tupac me or something. Jim Hyden say people can't afford to live like Americans. Bro, Americans can't afford to live like Americans. Like, credit or debt, I should say, is one of the major things keeping this economy going. And that's something that I realized, like, going to other places. These other places have credit. I mean, it ain't like there's no such thing as credit around the world. But there's still some parts of the world where if you can't afford something, you just can't afford it. If you ain't got it, you ain't gonna get it. In America, we can finance our lives. I'm included. That's part of the reason I'm still here. If I was 100% debt free, I would be looking for a place to get the fuck about the jam. I still have things I need to take care of here. But Americans, from transportation to property to education, like we've been conditioned to finance our lives for everything. And that's really to the point where motherfuckers financing food and clothes and stuff like that. No filter say, look at Drake, who's constantly clout chasing. I don't know if that's clout chasing or thought chasing, but yeah, he doing both. And you see where that got him. So I'll tell y'all what, if y'all want to chat for a little while, I'm gonna probably be on here maybe like another 5 or 10 minutes. If not, then I might just sign off for now. And it's 8 o'clock. I'm finna slide. I'm gonna go out there and check it out. And I'll probably go back live a little later and let y'all see. We're gonna see if my theory is correct. Because I know it's gonna be a bunch of youth out there, a bunch of black youth, a bunch of families, the moms and stuff, because they gotta. I'm not talking about the moms. Let's get that straight. I'm talking about the politicians that position these people in a certain way for media attention. They're gonna prop it up for the media, and then they ain't gonna give a fuck. You know, and that's if all goes well. Worst case scenario is people get arrested because they finna walk on an interstate highway. Come on, G. Or somebody get hurt. Because, again, when I finish this video, go on YouTube and look up protesters hit by cars. And there's tons of videos. Some of them funny, I ain't gonna lie. Some of that shit funny as hell, but some of it is fucked up. But it happens all the time. It ain't happened here in Chicago, but it happens all the time. You can only hold up a street for so long where people got to get to work. It's important. Goods and services is being, business being conducted on these roads. You can only do that for so long before motherfuckers lose it. Yeah. So I tell y'all what, man. Hey, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. I might come back a little later. Any of y'all want to join the chat later? Hit me in the comment section. And I'm gonna go back live maybe in another hour or two. I'm gonna see what the climate is like out there, and I want to show y'all real quick how this finna go down. All right, appreciate y'all, man. I'll holler at you.